Hello, everybody. I'm River from the Portland City Gym. Today, we're going to be going over a deck that I think has some tier 1 slash best deck in the format level potential. And of course, the deck that I bet none of you thought that I'd be talking about was Sableye. So, as some of you may know, Sableye is one of my favorite decks. I've always just really liked Sableye as a Pokemon ever since like Junk Hunt Sableye came out in wasn't it Dark Explorers? I'm pretty sure. It's always just been one of my favorites. So, I was really happy to see a Junk Hunt like Sableye, and one that is a meme. And as some of you may know, meme slash rogue decks are some of my favorite. I, I feel like most of the mainstream decks nowadays, at least, are pretty meh. But Sableye is definitely a fun one and has some tier 1 status, but it also has some meme status to it. So it's the perfect blend, and I really like Sableye, making it one of my favorite decks at the moment. And with Darkness Ablaze coming out, it definitely has some new tricks. So that's what we're going to be covering today. So, yeah. As I always say, guys, the deck list is all on screen. So if you don't really want to hear me talk, and you're just here for the list, screenshot it and go. Or you're just here for some reference. Stick around for a little bit, I guess, if you want to. But you guys are always more than welcome to leave if you find me talking boring, because that's pretty much what this just is. The whole deck list is there, so sometimes listening to me talk can be just a little bit of a bore, and I understand that. But anyways, guys, let's get into my new and improved Sableye V Arctozolt list. So, first off, you play 3 copies of Sableye V. You only really need 3 copies. If you can't make it with 3 copies, you really shouldn't be playing the deck, because then you're definitely piloting it wrong. The whole idea is that this deck can take huge knockouts and can boss's orders or gust something else up and just finish the game really, really quickly, which is why we play no recovery cards. As you guys can probably see, we play no copies of Ordinary Rod or Lana's Fishing Rod. Lana's Fishing Rod's useless in this deck. We play 0 recovery cards. And that is because if we get to the point where we have to use recovery cards, you're already done. You've already lost. I'm sorry. That's just the cold, hard truth. Gotta use recovery cards. You've already lost. And especially in a VMAX ridden format, especially after Darkness Ablaze comes out, Sableye V definitely has a nice and snug place. So yeah, Sableye V, I should probably get into what the card does. 170 HP, so definitely one of the lower Vs. I'm pretty sure it's tied with the lowest with Morpeko, but I'm pretty sure Celebi V had 160 HP. 160 or 170, so it's either tied for the lowest or second to lowest. Tied for second to lowest. So definitely a low HP, but then again, I mean, you're trading knockouts, and the idea is that you're going to be either A, attacking first, or B, attacking first and winning the prize trade. So yeah, 2 attacks. Oh, sorry about that. 2 attacks. For 1 Dark Energy, it has Load Search, where you can get 1 trainer card from your discard pile and put it back into your hand. You could use that with a card here called Turbo Patch. You usually, hopefully, wouldn't have to be using that. However, if you do, the option's there. But the main focus here is Crazy Claws. For 2 Dark Energy, it does 10 damage and 60 more for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. So if your opponent has 3 damage counters on it, you're going to be doing 190 damage. But you also have to keep in mind the 3 damage counters that are already there. People always seem to forget that Sableye does do damage for damage counters, But they always forget when calculating the math, like before they attack, that there are damage counters already there. So, yeah. So, Crazy Claw is definitely a very, very strong attack. 2 retreat cost is pretty annoying, but it, like I said, has 170 HP. So it'll never really live another turn to retreat. But it's relevant, I guess. It could be relevant. Next, we play 4 copies of Jirachi. This is an extremely slow, inconsistent deck. So Jirachi is imperative for this deck's function. 3 copies of Arctozolt. Arctozolt is the main partner for Sableye, and I feel like it will be for the entirety of that. Both of them are in rotation. Arctozolt, it has an ability where whenever your opponent attaches an energy card from their hand to one of their Pokemon, you put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. And of course, this ability stacks. So if you have 2 Arctozolt in play, they will have 4 damage counters per attachment. And this is deadly. Imagine an Eternatus VMAX, right? Just casually attaching an energy, 4 damage counters, and then Galarian Zigzagoon comes in, 5th damage counter, and then all of a sudden it's getting one shot with no real warning to it. Galarian Zigzagoon's a really, really awesome partner for this deck. So yeah, 3 copies of Arctozolt. You only really need 1, maybe 2 throughout an entire game, but 3 is just there for consistency purposes. 2 copies of Galarian Zigzagoon. I actually thought about putting a 3rd one in here, but I couldn't really find the room. I guess you could find the room if you took out like 1 rare fossil. However, 4-3 line is just more consistent that way. Headbutt Tantrum, of course, put 1 damage counter on one of your opponent's Pokemon. Can set up for some crazy, crazy knockouts. I mean, just think about it. It adds an extra 60 damage wherever you want. Like, hey, which one do you want to have 60 less health? Oh, I want that one to have 60 less health. Okay, and that's basically what it is to this deck. Scoop Up Net. What else do you what else do you want to have 60 less health? That one you can just pile it on. So definitely very, very strong. 2 copies of Crobat V. This is very preferably you don't want to be discarding cards with a deck like this, as it is super duper inconsistent. You can be discarding a lot of important pieces that could be imperative to our victory. So Crobat V is definitely very, very nice. Also, you'll find yourself a lot getting down to low hand sizes, mostly because this is just a really big play out your hands kind of deck. You play things like rare fossils, turbo patches, switches, scoop up nets. You'll usually find yourself playing out your whole hand. Great balls, vitality bands, Pokemon that we're going to be usually wanting to put on the bench. You'll find yourself with low hand sizes, is what I'm trying to say. So Crobat V is definitely very, very strong in a deck like this. But we also play 1 copy of Dedenne. Of course, Turbo Patch relies on getting energy in the discard pile. And if we don't have Dedenne, then the only other way we can do that is A, getting a Pokemon knocked out, which we don't really want to happen under any circumstances, right? We don't want to rely on that. That and Quick Ball. That's it. Those are all the discarding cards we have. We don't even play any Professor's Research in this deck. I just feel like that's really important to note. So Dedenne is very, very important, being able to discard cards, hopefully being able to discard Dark Energy so we can get them back with Turbo Patch. So that's the whole Pokemon. Moving on to supporters, we play 4 copies of Marnie. Marnie is really good disruption. It's a very good way to conserve your resources. Just disruption, conservation. It's just a good draw supporter. 3 copies of Piers. Again, new card from Darkness Ablaze. Makes it so you can search your deck for a dark Pokemon and 1 darkness energy. So think of it like this, right? You have a Piers, a Quick Ball, a Galarian Zigzagoon, a Dedenne, and a Turbo Patch, right? Sorry. Piers, grab a Sableye and a Dark Energy. Quick ball away the Dark Energy, grab a Sableye or something, I don't know. Grab something, right? Turbo Patch onto a Sableye, and then I'll keep in mind Turbo Patch is on a coin flip. I feel like that's important to note. And then Dedenne, just play out your whole hand, and then play out the hand that Dedenne gives you, and then Crobat, and then it's just crazy. You can do a lot of drawing on your first turn. Marnie, Crobat, Dedenne, Great Ball can help you dig as well. Just a lot of stuff can help you dig things out and get them out consistently. So that's just very, very strong. 3 copies of Boss's Orders. Boss's Orders is really, really important in this deck because Sableye V can perfectly knock out a Dedenne, kind of. I'll tell you what I mean by kind of. So again, let's go back to good old drawing board. You have a Sableye in the active, 2 Dark Energy on it, and then a Dedenne on your opponent's side of the field with no damage counters on it. Galarian Zigzagoon, bonk 1 on the Dedenne. Galarian Zigzagoon again, whether it's Scoop Up Net or the second copy, whatever. Bonk the Dedenne again. Then Vitality Band, which we only play 1 copy of for this specific combo, but if you want to play more, I completely understand. So Crazy Claws, 10 damage, plus 60 for 1 damage counter, that's 70. Plus another damage counter, that is 130. Plus the 2 damage counters that are already there, 150. Plus the Vitality Band, that's 160. Perfect numbers to knock out a Dedenne. Perfect way to conserve all of your resources, so you don't really have to go Scoop Up Net, Scoop Up Net, Scoop Up Net your Galarian Zigzagoons again and again and again to get that huge one-hit surprise knockout. Because whenever your opponent attaches an energy, a knockout isn't really a surprise. You know, their main goal is they're going to be attaching an energy. They get 4 damage counters on them and say, okay, when I knock out this Sableye, I'm probably going to get knocked out in return. But having a surprise attack is just way, 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 way more. It's just better. It's just better. It's just so that your opponent can't really prepare for it, and such. So that's why I play Boss's Orders. 3 copies of them. Next up is the items. 4 copies of Quick Ball, because we need to search out things. Next up, 4 copies of Scoop Up Net, so we can scoop up our Galarian Zigzagoons. Very, very important. 4 copies of Switch, so that we can switch out of the active. Say Jirachi, probably the most notable one. But Arctozolt, if it gets stuck in the active, does have 2 retreat as well. Dedenne has 1 retreat. Crobat has 1 retreat, and we don't really want to be manually retreating. So we do play 4 copies of Switch for that reason. Next up, 4 copies of Turbo Patch. Turbo Patch, it says, you may flip a coin. If heads, put a basic energy card in your discard pile, and attach it to one of your basic non-GX Pokemon. Luckily, Sableye is a basic non-GX Pokemon, so Turbo Patch does work. Keep in mind it's on a coin flip, but still that is a lot better than having to wait another turn to manually attach. 4 copies of Rare Fossil. This is so that we can evolve into Arctozolt more efficiently. Even if you were playing like less than 3 Arctozolt, let's say you were only playing the minimum 2, I'd still recommend you play 4 copies of Rare Fossil, since we can't really draw into it or search it out with Quick Ball and Great Ball, because it's technically a trainer card. So it just allows us to get it more consistently. Of course, like I said, we can get Arctozolt with Great Ball. Searching out Arctozolt isn't really an issue. However, Rare Fossil is an issue. So, yeah, 4 copies of Rare Fossil. 3 copies of Great Ball. Great Ball, it's there to help the deck run a little bit more smoothly. Of course, it can fail, but I feel like the 3 slots are worth the chance to fail, even though it's probably not going to fail. Let's be honest here, you're usually going to find something at least. And then 1 copy of Vitality Band. Vitality Band, like I said earlier, it's mostly just there to knock out Dedennes with a mere 2 damage counters. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then for stadiums, we do play stadiums. 2 copies of Spike Myth. Spike Myth is another really cool thing that we got in Darkness Ablaze. Where basically when your opponent switches their Pokemon with another Pokemon on their bench, whether it be retreating, using a switch, scoop up net, etc. Basically, whenever it goes to the active spot, that new active Pokemon takes 2 damage counters. So another really good way to pile on the damage. And then 1 copy of Black Market, so that our Sableyes really aren't worth as many prizes. Of course, we do play a lot of liabilities. Arctozolt is probably the main one. We also do play Dragapult's favorite prey, Jirachi, along with Galarian Zigzagoon, and of course the very boss's orderable Crobat and Dedenne. Um, so of course they don't need to really knock out all of our Sableyes in order to win the game. They could just knock out 1 Sableye and then a Crobat and a Dedenne. But with this, that's not how it works. They knock out 1 Sableye, 1 Crobat, 1 Dedenne, and it just doesn't happen. That's 5 prizes. But what's really cool about this is that Crobat is in fact a Dark-type Pokemon. Now, one of the side effects of Black Market is that the Dark Pokemon has to have Dark Energy attached, which is another cool thing about Turbo Patch, because you can Turbo Patch, charge something up, and then use one of your manual attachments to give Crobat the infamous Black Market protection. So, what you could do is Sableye V is worth 1 prize, Crobat's now worth 1 prize, and Dedenne is worth 2, because, it's not Dark-type. So it just makes it really hard, a lot harder for your opponent to win the game. Most of the time, your opponent will not have enough boss's orders to win the game in this way, since most of our support Pokemon are 1 prizers, and then it's just other Sableye and Crobat and Dedenne. So, that's the reasoning for Black Market. And then 8 copies of Basic Dark Energy to round out the list. Eight's a pretty good number, You're usually going to be drawing into it on your first turn. If you don't draw into it, we have Piers to get it. And if we don't have Piers to get it, we have Crobat V and Dedenne to find another way to get it. Or we play just other supporters like Marnie to go and get it. Or Jirachi to help us get Marnie or Piers in order to help us get it. Or we have Jirachi to help us get Quick Ball to help get Dedenne, to help get a trainer, to help get the Dark Energy. So it is a very complicated web of ways for us to get Dark Energy. You should never really be needing Dark Energy desperately. If you want to add in a 9th copy for the extra consistency, I think that is a little bit much. 8 copies of Dark Energy is kind of just the golden standard. It is the perfect amount. Yeah. So, as always, thank you all for watching. Definitely like, subscribe, all that stuff that YouTubers usually end up asking you. And as always, this is River from the Portland City Gym, signing out.